Well, good afternoon, and firstly, thank you to LIA for inviting me, and thank you to all for coming to this session. My role in the next 30 minutes is to really help you explore how disruptive technologies, and particularly exponential technologies, could evolve in the next few years, and in particular, how do they create opportunities for business people and would-be entrepreneurs here in Latvia. Because there's a real opportunity now. One of the things that we see with the exponential technologies is they're exponentially reducing the scale of the size of business you need to create in order to be successful. So I'm going to show you lots of examples of that. I'm also going to talk about 3 types of being that get born when you see exponential technologies come to market. You see the aliens, you see the barbarians, you see the magicians. And I'm going to talk to you a little bit about those kinds of behaviors and the choices you might have when you think about, well, what type of business do I want to be in this marketplace? And the first thing what I would say is, we're in a world where everything is changing very fast. Ideas, technology, money, risk, everything flows around the globe at breakneck speed. And we're also at a point in time where people's ability to understand it is getting diminished. The technology is moving so fast, and we heard that on the panel before. Ideas are changing, politics is changing. Who knows if we're going to have a trade war? Who knows what the strategies are of China and Russia and the US in the next 5 years? We can see all these big players really behaving in some quite crazy ways for most of us. They're not behaving in normal, business as usual ways. And we have to think about, how do we harness the new technologies to respond and create new opportunities where some old ones may be closed down? And this is where the alien part comes in, I think. That many of the new things that are coming to market, if we hear about blockchain, we hear about cryptocurrencies, initial coin offerings, initial token offerings, we're creating a language that feels alien to 99% of the people on the planet. Most people I talk to don't understand this stuff. Even when I've explained it, they still don't understand. Maybe they understand even less. When I talk to my friends about these things, I talk about cryptocurrency. They can only talk to me for 10 words at a time. I then have to stop them and say, okay, let me try and see if I understood what you've just said. And again, about 50% of the time I'm wrong. The ideas are so complicated, they're moving so fast, that there's a real challenge for everyone. But that challenge also creates a phenomenal opportunity around the planet, which is that everyone is craving, education about these things now, and businesses that can help them understand them. And then they're also craving access. Who can help me use this technology of AI, of blockchain in my business? Who can help me make sense of how I might do an ICO or how I might use a cryptocurrency? Everyone is really wanting to understand this, and there are very few barriers to entry. The magicians, I think, are the more interesting ones because they instantly create solutions with the new technologies that make sense and make us go, wow. My favorite one at the moment is this one called Do Not Pay. It's an AI website that was initially developed in the UK to help you fight parking tickets. And this guy saved citizens in the UK nearly €4 million in the first year, by finding parking tickets that they shouldn't have paid and then fighting the legal battle for them entirely electronically. Now he's moved on to travel. He's 21 years old now. He started the business when he was 18. And this business now fights hotels and airlines in the US. So when you've bought your ticket or you've booked your room, his system then just constantly monitors to see if you can get the ticket for a cheaper price. Because under US rules, they have to refund you the difference. Now, I've never seen a US travel, airline or hotel chain tell you that. But he's finding something that's creating magic for you and I. And how many examples are there of that kind of thing out there where we can create real magic, a real wow factor for our customers? And then the barbarians, we hear about this all the time. These are the people who come to market with a new idea, like Uber, who don't care about the existing players, they don't care about the regulation. Some would say they don't care about their own staff, but they're really just hell-bent on driving for growth and destroying everything in their wake. We also see the big tech players often being described as barbarians because of the way they use our data, the way Some believe they abuse our data, and they basically ride roughshod over governments. You know, we've seen Zuckerberg refuse to talk to the British Parliament and being very selective about who he thinks he should talk to. And that's quite barbaric in some respects. They're saying we're above the rule of law. But all three of those behaviors, the aliens, the magicians, and the barbarians, we see every time we see a new disruptive technology, and it gives us a choice about how we want to play. We also know that we're in a world where the people who get it right can create incredible solutions that serve the customer. And it's this kind of swipe right mindset, the Tinder mindset, that says swipe right if you like it, swipe left if you don't. So this is an insurance company where I only pay for insurance when I'm using the item. So when I take my camera out, for the 2 hours I might be outside with my camera, I've swiped right. As soon as I go home, I swipe left. This is the kind of magic, this is the kind of emotion we're now seeing people create, where they're saying, we're not just delivering what used to be delivered, we're fundamentally reorientating ourselves to deliver what our customers want, and we're trying to work out how to make money as a result of doing that. Rather than coming up with a business idea that can make money and then trying to sell it, we're finding what the customer wants and then working out how to make money out of this. This is one of the mindset shifts that's required to really take advantage of these disruptive technologies. And one of the other things that I think happens here is, particularly for older, more established businesses, if they're going to take advantage of these things, then they have to challenge what we would call their zombie assumptions, old assumptions that no longer work anymore. We all have a view of the world about how things work. We can't possibly deal with everything that's going on out there, so we have to simplify it. We create a story of the world that our whole organization gets behind, it becomes our strategy, and that's great until it no longer works, until the ideas are no longer true, and someone presents us with a different view that's quite challenging. The most striking example of this for me is this painting that hangs in Reina Sofia in Madrid. It was painted by a 16-year-old girl called Angela Santos back in the 1920s. When I saw this painting, my breath stopped. It was so stunning. When her parents saw this painting, they thought she was crazy. They thought it was heretical because it was 1920s. It was a deeply religious time. And this was her view of the world, and they just thought it was so radical, so wrong, that they rejected it, and they had her committed to an asylum. That was how wrong we have. We have corporate equivalents of this. In big businesses, we call those feasibility studies. We send people off in the hope that they don't come back again. But the problem here is that we're trapped. We're trapped in a prison of our own ideas, beliefs, experiences that won't let us embrace the future. We're trying to make the old world fit our zombie assumptions, these assumptions that are now dead and should be retired. And the big challenge for a lot of established organizations is how we let go of that stuff. And letting go means getting out of that mind trap that thinking our ideas are too important or the most important, that we have to believe our ideas, that our ideas are the best out there, that no one can have a better idea, and that we have forever to implement our ideas. And our challenge is really to clear our minds to open up the possibility for all these new things. There's also a big challenge here between whether you approach the world with an abundance mindset or a scarcity one. The scarcity thinkers believe that the pie is limited, and if I win, you have to lose, and vice versa, so I've got to destroy my opposition. The abundance mindset says, no, because of these advances in science and technology, we'll have exponential growth possibilities, we'll have an abundance, and the global economy could grow from 78 trillion to 120 trillion in the next 7 to 10 years. And as a result of that, we'll have phenomenal opportunities, because more than 50% of that will come from businesses and industries that either don't yet exist or have only just been born. And one of the most powerful things we're seeing in that world is that everything becomes quantifiable, everything becomes monetizable. And this is a real challenge for a lot of people. We understand about money. We understand that money's moved to digital. But now money is a digital asset. Well, what else is a digital asset that could have equivalent value? I can trade my air miles for flights, but I can also buy goods with it. But what if I no longer have a job and I'm just doing community service and I'm painting people's houses? I might get community reward tokens. Well, how do I exchange them? Well, in the new world, we're seeing lots of people already launching the equivalent of a digital currency that will allow all these different asset classes in and have equivalent value. And so we have to start thinking more broadly about, where will the value come from? How might someone pay me? I might provide technology to a cleaning company. They might pay me part in cash, part in 20,000 hours of cleaning that I then include as a bonus to the clients I serve. We're moving into a world where there's a richer set of ideas starting to emerge about how we pay for goods and services and how we value our world. My gut feel is that China's digital currency will incorporate all these when they launch it, and most of the others that have been launched now will probably die away. So I talked about these exponential technologies. Well, what are they? There's here on the screen. I'm not going to talk about them all. We know about exponential from information technology, where Moore's law says that the amount of computer power you can buy for €1,000 doubles roughly every 12 to 24 months. But we're seeing this in every field of science and technology. And we're also seeing those science and technology fields converge. So 3 years ago in his laboratory in Amsterdam, Mark Prost created the first laboratory-grown hamburger. It cost €325,000. It tasted like your shoes. Last year, the same lab, the burger cost €11 to make, and now it tastes like Burger King beef. Within 2 years, they expect to be down to 50 cents. Now, they're the only ones doing that in food. But in every one of these sectors, we're seeing radical innovation. We're seeing the sectors come together, and we're seeing artificial intelligence becoming the glue that really powers the accelerated advance of those sectors. And that's what's creating this notion of the fourth industrial revolution, which isn't just a technological revolution. It's an idea revolution. It's about rethinking the way we do almost everything with every industry by using the data in ever more powerful ways. And at the heart of that is this notion of artificial intelligence, creating algorithms that can think, reason, learn, interpret like humans. And the reason they're really accelerating is, one, the software is getting smarter and smarter, but two, the likes of Google, Amazon, and others have amassed these giant oceans of data that are really requiring AI in order to manipulate them and make sense of them. And they poured tens of billions of euros into the pursuit of artificial intelligence, which is driving an accelerated pace of development. However, there is some confusion about what AI is. And we believe there are 7 categories of AI that range from the simple expert systems that determine whether you can have a mortgage, and we've been using for 30 years, through to the kind of Arnold Schwarzenegger Terminator scenario, where we have super intelligent machines that decide that humans are a waste of space, that we only cause problems, and that we should be melted down to be fuel to run the machines with. But our media, now there's a lot of research and development to be done to take us through those 7 stages, and we're a long way off cracking a lot of the science. But our media often has us believe that the gap between the expert system and the Terminator scenario is a matter of months or years. Actually, the latter may never happen. So we have to understand those 7 stages, because to me, they're at the heart of all exponential technology. And often when we talk about can we do what we need to do with that technology, it's going to be, can the AI do what we need to do with the data around that technology? I'll give you a very simple example. If you're watching the World Cup now in Russia, there have been quite a few instances where they've needed to use the video assistant referee, or a human that has to decide whether they look to the video. But the problem is, by the time the human has decided, the game has moved on. And what they're finding is the technology, as it's designed, is taking too long to analyze all the different video images to decide if there's an incident. Now, this is a perfect example of we've created something that doesn't quite work. When it will work properly is when we're using artificial intelligence to do the video interpretation, because then we can do thousands of pieces of analysis in fractions of a second. So we've actually launched that solution too quickly. But what we see going on today is, as I say, these 7 different categories of artificial intelligence. The first is the expert system. So if you fly on a plane, the autopilot is a very big expert system. Just a whole series of rules. If you take out a loan, or you apply for, if you have a claim, There's something called robotic process automation, RPA, that's evaluating that. But it's simply automating a whole set of rules that humans would normally apply. And those are already there now. Most of what people call AI today is largely rule-based systems. The next category are growing in popularity, and these are systems that understand some information about a problem. So typically they're trained by humans based on past experience, so they're used a lot in chatbots, in banking, and in robotic process advisors to help you choose your engine oil for your motorbike or to choose the right financial services product. They're out there now. They're not very exciting. I started my career in artificial intelligence. My goal was not to create chatbots. And most of the people pioneering AI, their goal is not to create chatbots. It's a step in the journey. The next stage is more interesting, and this is where a lot of the attention has gone in the last few years. This is around creating systems that can use all that accumulated knowledge to be better than humans in a specific domain. So 2 years ago, Google's DeepMind created a system called AlphaGo, take on the world Go champion. 18 times world champion. AlphaGo beat him by 4 games to 1. In all 4 games, he retired stressed. Google did not teach AlphaGo how to play Go. They gave it a set of rules for learning, and they gave it an objective to win. And it basically watched the game. It tried to make its own moves. Humans nudged it if it made a mistake. It then beat him, and he said in those games it was making more creative moves than him, and it was forcing him to make mistakes by learning his behavior and gaming him. So what we're seeing is really clever technology. And then last year they created AlphaGo Zero, so the sibling of AlphaGo. With AlphaGo Zero, they didn't teach it anything. They just gave it learning rules and had it watch Go. And it worked out the game for itself. After 3 days, it took on its big brother and beat it by 100 games to 0. That's the kind of level we're at with the AI right now and its disruptive potential. However, if we tried to teach either of those systems how to diagnose cancer or how to recognize a face, they would have forgotten how to play Go. But that's kind of where we are now. We're at systems that are as smarter as us or better than us in single domains. Where we're going next is machines that actually have some understanding of how their mind works and how the human mind works and how emotions work. And so they'll be able to do things like negotiation. So you'll start to see smart contracts where companies will deal with each other and their AI will negotiate with another AI to do the entire process. They're in the labs now. They're coming to market in the next 2 or 3 years. The next stage is really where I and most AI scientists really had their focus and have had their focus, which is on creating artificial general intelligence, which means creating machines that are as smart as humans in every respect. Now, we don't know if we're going to get there. You may have seen the TV series called Humans. That's what AGI looks like, and a lot of Hollywood movies have shown this. Some people say we're 5 years away. Others say it could be never. My view is in 10 years' time, or within 5 to 10 years, we will see systems that won't be genuinely smart themselves. They won't be thinking for themselves, but they'll have so much processing power that it will look like it, and it won't make any difference. And they'll be making medical decisions. They'll be deciding people's benefits. They'll even be involved in making government decisions. They'll be there in every domain that humans are, doing what humans do in the next 5 to 10 years. The next stage after that is a term coined by a guy called Nick Bostrom at Oxford. And he says that if the machines get to be artificially general intelligent, then the next stage is obviously that they're going to move to becoming super intelligent, where they'll be smarter than us, where they might create new economic systems, they might create new government systems, new social systems, they might redesign the education system. We don't know what they'll be capable of because we only have basic human intelligence. So it's hard to describe what almost an alien with this level of intelligence would have. But what we do know is it could be transformative. Again, that could be 10 years away, some people are saying, others are saying never. My view is if you get to something that is genuinely, a genuine artificial intelligence solution, about 5 years after that, we'll be seeing superintelligence in our world. And then finally, there's this idea that if we get to superintelligence, we can create what Ray Kurzweil the chief engineer at Google wants to create, which is the singularity. That this super smart intelligence will work out how to network our brains, how to share our ideas, how to invite people into our dreams, but also to connect to the other intelligences on the planet, animal intelligence, plant intelligence, weather systems. That is a truly mind-blowing level. Kurzweil thinks that could happen by 2045. Again, others are saying never. I really don't have a clue on this one. I think there's a lot to crack here around human emotions, around consciousness, around the intelligence of our body that factors into our thinking. And I don't know that it's just a case of increasing computing processing power that will get us there. I think there's some fundamental science to crack. So what are we going to see in the next few years? Well, over the next few years, you're going to see pretty much every organization using AI without realizing it, in their query answering to customers, in all sorts of order processing systems, and back-end systems. It will just be there. By 2025, I think we'll be in a place where AI will be managing things like our travel experiences. So from us watching a video of Iceland on the TV screen and microfacial expressions saying, wow, I like that, our AI will be compiling a video compilation of scenes and sights from Iceland for us to see, showing us all the highlights, seeing if we like it, sharing it with a few of our friends to see if they want to join us on the trip, reverse auctioning a travel package that says, here's what these people want to do, who wants to bid to provide that, and then helping us make a decision about which package we want to take, and then managing our entire travel experience down to things like real-time translation when I'm in the destination, so I can experience Iceland the way Icelanders would. And then if we go out to 2035, that's when we start to see these really radical notions like single global currency, which has multiple assets in it, potentially artificial general intelligence, and certainly this idea of understanding more about the intelligence of the other systems on the planet. And we're already seeing this in some quite clever ways that challenge our understanding about the future. This is a company that's developed by Russians, and the system is now in about 6 different countries. And it's an insurance company with no employees. When you decide, if you're in the Netherlands, for example, if you decide you want to insure a bicycle, you join an insurance pool, you put your money in. If someone has a claim, we as a pool decide how much you should receive as compensation. And at the end of the year, if there's any money left in our pool, we get it back. That is radically different to how most insurance companies work. It's using a combination of AI and blockchain, so 2 very disruptive technologies. But the critical thing is not creating any jobs. It's actually taking jobs away. It has no employees. And this is the kind of thing that's already happening. And these are called decentralized autonomous organizations. And these are the kind of things that we really need to get our heads around as governments, as individuals. Some would see this as a barbarian business, others would see it as magic. But we have to think about what we're trying to do. We're also seeing the rise of decentralized AI. This is a company that, SingularityNet, that is allowing people to put bits of AI functionality onto a blockchain so that you can rent that tool rather than going to IBM or Google to use their software. So you retain the power over your system, and you can combine multiple different bits of AI software to create solutions for customers and not be beholden to the big companies, if you like, not be beholden to the barbarians. So if you're in the tech world at the moment, this is magic, because it means that you have infinite power without having ultimate control handed to someone else. We're seeing people creating magic in the business world using these ideas. This is a company in China that builds these 57-story buildings in 19 days. It prefabricates everything in the factory. The whole design is controlled by AI, and they just plug it together on site in 19 days. If I'm in construction, if I'm an owner of a building or an office building or a hotel, to me this is magic, because this means I can have my building much closer to when my demand is rather than trying to anticipate 3 or 4 years ahead. We're seeing this also in the idea of giving us almost perfect data about our world, where everything could be connected to the Internet of Things. Our shirts, our shoes, everything, sharing data, ordering a heel repair or ordering a dry cleaning for my suit from the suit. This company puts the sensors into a mattress. So it will gather data about your sleeping patterns and tell you what is the best time for you to go to bed, what is the best position for you to lay in to get the best night's sleep. But interestingly, it's also connected to your mobile phone. And the way they market this phone is that you can find out if someone's having a party while you're out working hard. Having a party in your bed. So you can imagine the number of divorces this might lead to. But, and that's the kind of challenge with some of these technologies. On the one hand, it seems as magic. Someone else might see this as, completely barbaric and invading my life. We're seeing lots about flying cars and taxis. They're humming. China and Dubai will be launching these this year, creating some quite interesting solutions. We'll be seeing drones doing building inspection, doing construction. And I think the vehicle industry is a really interesting one because this is where some of the opportunities really start to open up for someone like Latvia. With a typical car company, you need to produce about 50,000 cars to have an economically viable plant. And as I understand it, that doesn't really work for Latvia. You need a much smaller footprint. See, now you're starting to see people like this, Saunders, who raised just $1 million via crowdfunding for a $10,000 car, which means that you can produce it in very low volumes and you can bring it to this market. And there are around 50 of these projects now where people are creating innovative solutions that you could bring right into this market and create solutions both for Latvia but also for the regions around you. Electric motorcycles and trucks is another domain where we're seeing them crack the range problem, so you can start to either import the design or find people to design for the local market again and solve problems. One of the most exciting developments out there using all these technologies is called open source development. There's a company called OS Motors in the US who created an open source design, so lots of people contributed to the car design. And now you can buy the design, you can even buy a factory design from them, and develop cars in very low volume. So they have over 80 projects around the world where a family business might say, well, we have a hotel, we have retail, we have some construction, maybe, daughter number 3, let's put her into cars. And they're seeing postal companies, tech companies, family businesses all wanting to start car manufacture in other markets using this open source design. Because the design work is all done, you just put the structure on it that you want, so you can have very different customized designs in every market. We're also seeing people 3D printing in tiny factories. These guys can produce a new car design 1,000 times faster than the normal car companies. And they can get each car off the production line about 20 times faster. They only need to produce 2,500 cars, which are 3D printed, in order to make a profit. Imagine the potential of bringing something like that to Latvia. We no longer have to think about massive scale. Exponential technologies are exponentially reducing the scale of the footprint we need to create commercial ventures. We're also seeing that AI is going to create new business concepts, self-owning cars, self-driving cars, self-insuring cars. This is going to start to change all these industries. Autonomous vehicles coming to your door with food, with a doctor's surgery coming to you to have the tests, a clothing store bringing the clothes for you to try and then taking them away again. We can start to think of lots of really innovative concepts of how we use these technologies going forward to create new solutions for our markets. And then finally, the one I want to talk about is actually not new technology. It's a very old technology. This is a very successful company from the UK called Elvis and Krasser, and they make handbags. But the way their business was born was they went to look at a rubbish tip. They went to see what was thrown away, and they found that every year hundreds of tons of fire hose was thrown away by the fire service. They now have a contract till 2037. The fire service used to pay something like £400 per ton to get rid of this. They get it for free. And from that, they treat it, they process it, and they make these very expensive handbags. They're now doing the same with leather. 700,000 tons of leather around the world are thrown away after you cut the shape out of a hide. They're turning that rest of that material, which they get for free, into carpets and rugs and all sorts of things. So there's also a really interesting opportunity around old products that we can recycle to create new solutions. So what do we do to inspire the search for those opportunities? Well, for me, it's just one thing. It is education, to open people's minds in existing businesses, in new businesses, teaching people to think laterally, creatively, to solve problems, to think in scenario terms about what's happening. But it's really a process of opening people's minds. One mechanism for doing that is these videos you see from the World Economic Forum and Mashable and Cheddar. If you have people watch those every day, one of those videos for 1 to 2 minutes, in the space of 2 weeks, you'll change their minds about what's possible with these new technologies. So what we would say is, for you guys, what would you do coming out of this conference? I'd say pick 2 or 3 actions that you really want to pursue, ideas that you think might be worth trying. Find someone to share those ideas with who'll check back with you every few weeks to see how you're doing. Watch some of those videos. Email me if you've got any questions about anything I've talked about. But watch some of those videos. When you get the handouts for the presentation, you'll see a whole set of videos that you can go and look at. And then we're also giving you, we have a newsletter that has every week ideas about the future, possibilities, developments. It's normally about $150. We've agreed with Agnesa here to give it to all of you for free. So if you go to our website, you just have to enter that code, and then you can have that information flowing into your inbox once a week to just give you some inspiration. So I hope this has made sense. The author Graham Greene says, there comes a time in everyone's life when you have to open the door and let the future in. I hope the people here have come because the door is open for them. And what I hope I've delivered to you in this last 30 minutes are just a few ideas on what sits on the other side and how you can take advantage of it to create real businesses with new and exponential technologies, but also old possibilities here in Latvia. Thank you.